Welcome, my dear friends, to a new episode here with a full review of the Ford Explorer. Finally now available in Europe, and so we can take a chance to review it in exterior, interior and the driving experience, taking it on the German Autobahn, of course also for a high-speed test. See what this big fella is capable of. Today also here as the new plug-in hybrid version. Please join us now in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. In the front here, the new generation of the Ford Explorer is even more muscular, a very massive stance on the road. In this high trim level version we have here today, also we see the full LED lamps and the LED daytime running light. This is here the ST line, so a sporty front grille with these shiny black accentuations and also this kind of honeycomb style grille, so even more massive contrast in the lower part, and the color for today is called Lucid Red. 5 meters 05, 16 foot 6 or 199 inches is the length of the Ford Explorer, of course a full-size SUV, and you would start with 18-inch wheels when you get the base versions in the US, for example, and also with rear-wheel drive only, then for a decent price. In Europe we only get the high-spec versions, so plug-in hybrid vehicle, then also all-wheel drive and a C-line here, all platinum, and you can see the 20-inch wheels, the biggest ones that are available. We'll see about the comfort later. You have the crossover cladding right here, then again the lucid red color, the ST line badge and the sporty accentuation here in the side skirt. So overall, once again, impressive side profile. Here also again black accentuations on the door handles. And once again at the top part, and the styling element here, this forward-looking fin-like design, and then separating the last bit of the vehicle. And in the rear, a rectangular design, we hardly see that nowadays anymore. I think it works very well. And you can see here the LED signature and again the ST line with the black lettering right there. We don't lose too much space because of this upright building style, and the very special job for the Autogefühl fake exhaust police today, because we've never seen that. These are no classic fake exhaust tips. This is the real exhaust. But just the original end of the real exhaust is fake. And then the exhaust outgoing is on the lower part? The hell? Engine bay, 3-liter V6 plug-in hybrid, 457 horsepower, all-wheel drive. And here the electric parts. Seriously? Yeah, that doesn't look too good, but yeah, I can tell it works. And well, while the official range is about 45 kilometers or 30 miles, our tested range is rather some 25 kilometers or like 15, maximum 20 miles. So, but at least there is something. And however, the Ford Explorer in the US, for example, also available with the 2.3-liter turbocharged and then 4-cylinder rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Then there's a 3-liter V6 without the plug-in hybrid, 370 or 405 horsepower in the ST, and then there's a 3.3-liter V6 inbuilt hybrid. On the driver's side, you charge this 13 kilowatt-hour battery, maximum of 3.6 kilowatt AC charging. Oh, and very interesting. Yeah, about that. So, yeah. Sometimes you need the force. First of all, door closing sound. Okay. And always horning when the ignition is on. Yeah, about that. So, now the interior. You can see here the inside of the doors. This is soft touch, this as well. Then the knobs here for the central lock. Windows, here again soft and plush. Then the inside door pockets, this being the ST line, a sportier setup, for example with the steering wheel with flat bottom and red contrast stitches. The top of the dashboard here is not soft but not really hard, something between. I like the knobs here, they are all knurled. It's not really metal, but it's like hard plastic knurled, so it's like an imitation, so why not? Then a US base version would get fabric seats, which is better because it's also cooler in summer and warmer in winter, and of course animals are being spared. Here in Europe you only get the high trim with animal skin seats, and they are really greasy. They feel very greasy, yeah, indeed. And yeah, let's take a test seat no matter what. And here we go. And the cool thing is, of course, here in this full-size SUV, you have an upright seating position, you feel like king of the road, you sit high, have a good overview to the front and so on. There's this comfort feature, by the way, that when I turn off the ignition, the seat goes backward and the steering wheel goes up. That's a very nice feature. I'm not sure if it's standard, I think not. And you can also see when this is in function, then of course also the whole steering wheel is movable here in the electric way. And we also have the electric seats here for today. And the seating position, as I said, is quite comfortable. Here with 1.86 or 6'1", I have enough headroom left. And then there's also this panoramic roof. So there's a shade that goes all the way over the vehicle. And when this shade is removed, then you can also open that one completely. Interior right here. Yeah, this dashboard is fairly soft touch, let's take it that way. Then we have a sporty insert here for the ST line, rather classic dials because we still have manual volume knob, and also here this manual AC, and also straightforward for seat heating, heated steering wheel, and also seat cooling, so that's easy to control. You have more digitalization this generation, so that means on the left side you can get these 12.3-inch digital instruments, and on the right side either you start then here with an 8-inch screen or optional a 10.1-inch screen, the one you can see right here in a vertical way. The 8-inch screen would be more like, horizontal. And yeah, this is, very straight. You can see it here. So it doesn't lean towards the driver. That's, from here, from this driver's perspective, it's then a little bit weird, I have to say. Soon more details to that screen. Here again the steering wheel with the good grip and red contrast stitches. Right side you can control some of these digital instruments. Also you can see, for example, the all-wheel drive distribution and so on. And on the left side you could control the cruise control. Middle console, here you can open this one to have USB-C or USB-A connection for your smartphone, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, another 12-volt power supply. Then there's this nice driving selector, which we know from past Jaguar models. Drive, neutral, reverse, park. I think it's a very good solution, definitely. Adaptive cup holders. Then drive mode selector. There's an EV mode drive selector and also normal driving mode selector. Talking more about that when we drive the vehicle. And then there's this massive middle console. There's an inductive charging bit, by the way. Here this armrest and then a lot of space underneath. And you can see the digital instruments, left side speed and right side, then you can adjust a little bit what you want to see. Now to this vertical screen. The Apple CarPlay integration looks like this, and this optional B&O sound system, or included also in the European package here, is, very decent. Pretty cool. You can see here the vertical screen doesn't make so much sense than for the Apple CarPlay. And what you can also see, when you have the CarPlay or Android Auto connected, then most of the rest of the infotainment system is dead. So you have to unplug it, MTV unplugged. And then you once again get the normal GPS. Yeah, I mean, you have then the bigger vertical screen than here. Why not? This is already a step forward. It gets really hot, by the way, definitely. And then you also have, other settings right here. But most of the time, I don't know. Didn't want that. I think there should be an option to use the normal GPS still when the CarPlay is mounted, because not everyone has unlimited data for the phones, especially not common in Europe, by the way. Yeah, what's to think about it? You see here, GPS gets like deactivated once again. And the rear view camera, you have the rear view camera on the left, and then on the fake drone view from above on the right, together with the PDC on the lower part. So everything is right there. However, the rear view camera then on this screen is, is not too big. The screen is then really tiny in comparison to what you want to see possibly. Well, we do have soft touch material here also at the back door. However, here the feeling of materials in general is really rather mediocre. Here, by the way, we have a manual shade. Yeah, cool thing about the panoramic roof, it leaves a lot of light, especially to the back seats, and it's a long car, and we have very decent legroom right here in the second row, and you can move around quite freely here. Headroom with 1.86 or 6.1 is getting a little bit close. That would be a little bit better without the panoramic roof then, and you can also move these seats here like this. So this would be like the I could still live with this here somewhat, and then there's more space for the third seating row. Let's check that out very soon. Other than that, here this is for folding the seats and also for adjusting them a little bit to change the angle. The middle seat cannot be changed, so this stays in this position. You can see also the step here, but still you can sit here very well. It's no problem. It's a little bit stiffer than the outside seats, but then a little bit more headroom. There's this control unit in the rear, also with separate climate functions. Then you have these USB chargers and also a real power socket. And the other seat here, the other outside seat, once again can be moved for the front and the back. Now the question is, will I fit in the back as a tall adult? By the way, ISOFIX here at the outside seats. So what happens here then? You have this entry function that you slide the seat forward, then you can have a decent entry, and I put these seats away that you can actually see that everything here can fold up the head restraints then, and so far, I mean, it's rather shallow seating position, like very flat bench, and you can see also how the angle of my legs is. Here behind this seat, it's rather tricky, but on the outside, let's try that when we move it back once again. So like this, and then indeed this does fit legroom wise. However, you have to put it in the more forward position. So just shown to you that I have it in the position that I can still sit here in the second row, and at the same time I can sit in the third row. So this does indeed work for 7 tall adults. Also headroom wise here in the rear, no problem. I think it's quite cool. And they also thought about ISOFIX here at the outside seats. Of course, when you think about a possible rear crash, then it's even better to have the kids, in the second seating row. But even if you're driving with more kids, for example, then at some point, maybe you really want to use them. 2,274 liters is the maximum trunk capacity. Let's see how we can achieve that. Here behind the last seating row, you can still store some luggage. That's actually quite good. Then below this here, you have place for your charging cable or cables. Small cubby hole at the sides, and then here these last seats, either individually or fold them both at the same time electrically. So that's a very handy solution. You just have to put this cover there on the top, or remove it completely, that it doesn't hinder the process. So, and then you actually, the length of the last bit here is about 45 centimeters. Here the total length is 125 centimeters. So that's already a very decent length. And then the width here is, this would be 1 meter, and this is even more. So here in the front it's 1.20 meters, and then in the middle part here it's even like 1.15 or so. So once again, this is quite decent. This cover here, however, is quite shallow. So when you take a look at that, that's about 33 centimeters below that. That's really not high at all. Just the total trunk height here is with 80 centimeters quite okay. So, and then what else we could do is load it all the way through, and it works like this when we fold the seats from here. And then you can see you either have this one or the middle part or also the last bit, and then it's getting even better. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Ford Explorer, finally also now in Europe, and going to talk about the general driving of this big SUV, and of course also today about the plug-in hybrid that is available right here. So first of all, some city cruising, then we head on to the motorway and test the assistance systems, and then we also do some high-speed driving. That's for noise cancellation, stability, suspension, and so on. So, first of all, the cool thing here, since it's this big travel SUV and you can carry a lot of people, you also have this upright seating position, the traveling feeling, a good view to the front, and of course, from the exterior you have this very present front grille, so you know that you're being recognized, so to speak. Behind us is Mercedes G-Class. This one here is the bigger car. Yeah, if that's important. If size matters, matter of perspective. So, and when we're here in the normal hybrid driving mode, the vehicle decides itself when it's time to put on the combustion engine, when it's time to do the EV driving. As for the gauges you see, Ford does not have the philosophy that they want to make it as transparent as possible. And together with the good noise insulation from that engine, you hardly ever know what's happening unless you really push the throttle. So there's also a possibility here, for example, in being a city, switching from this normal operation to the all-electric driving, that you force the vehicle to drive electric. Just when you really want to have that, when parking in and out and so on. But most of the time, when you are really driving slowly, you are in this electric driving mode anyway by the hybrid mode. Then you can also save switching to the EV mode. And then there's also like the battery keeping mode and also the battery recharging mode. So when you are recharging the battery by the combustion engine, which is very inefficient, of course, it always makes more sense to recharge the vehicle via plug-in hybrid. That's why it's a plug-in hybrid. And I also tested it for like a 25 kilometer run, and there were just like 2 kilometers added, so that's not exactly much, so you really have to have a very, very high mileage to gain back some of the battery via this system. So to me that doesn't really make so much sense. Good thing is that for example, when you're driving downhill, you can always use the regenerative braking. First of all, roll, and then when there's more brakes being needed, you just use the normal brakes here. And when you're pressing the brake pedal, first there's the recuperation, then when more braking power is needed, then the real brakes set in. Steering, by the way, is quite light and doesn't have big dead zone area, so I think quite likable. We also have different driving modes here, and so not only the EV driving modes, but also the usual driving modes that would any other Explorer have as well. And that is here the normal driving mode. We have for slippery, trail, deep snow or sand. So then the all-wheel drive system is tuned a little bit here. Also the ESC then is set to off in this deep snow or sand mode or trail mode. On the other side there's eco mode with reduced throttle input. There's here sports mode with increased throttle input. We'll show that on the motorway. And this is also in the case where we hear the engine, when we really turn up the RPM. And by the way, next to the sports mode, there's then the towing or hauling mode as well. So, but we leave it in normal for now. It's always a good feeling that we can get back some energy, especially when we're driving downhill. I also tested this vehicle when the battery was depleted. What about the fuel economy then? And that ended up with about 9 liters in 1 kilometer, so 26 mpg US, 31 mpg UK, which is, for the size of the vehicle, actually quite decent. So even when the battery is depleted, you can use the recuperation moments and then maybe have by the way, bumpy road. So suspension is, zoom mounted suspension. I just want to comment on this bumpy road. So let me finish this consumption thing. So even when you have the battery depleted, you still have some efficiency gain especially when you're going like back and forth here, and topography changes and so on. When you're just driving cruise control motorway, then of course it won't make such a difference. Here about suspension, on the one hand, it is rather soft and have you ride like, you know, reasonably shaky SUV suspension feeling. On the other hand, the suspension is not really forgiving when you're driving over some bumps. So for this big SUV, I would have, you know, expected better. This is the ST version with 20-inch wheels, so when you're going for the base wheel choice with 18-inch, this will bring you more comfort. So that's also something to consider when picking the trim level. I really think that this car makes sense when you go with a lower trim, for example in the US, and pay about 30,000 euros, get the rear-wheel drive only, pay really a low price, have fabric seats on the interior, just 18-inch wheels for better driving comfort, and again for, you know, more practicability, then I think this vehicle definitely makes more sense. Here with the electric drive in place, we can score even a little bit more decent fuel economy figures. And here, by the way, let's go to the sport mode for the very first time. And, no, other way around, yeah. 50 kilometers. Plop, and that's already 90 kilometers. So this is a powerful engine, and together with the electric boost, you get even more power. And now we also heard something of that, definitely. As for the electric driving range, you know there is the official figure with about 50 kilometers or 30 miles promised pure electric driving. But you know, from our tests here and what the gauges, for example, once again tell us at the moment, it's rather half. That's of course a little bit disappointing as for the result. But it's also, you know, constantly recalculating depending on your driving profile. Well, I can say that 50 kilometers or 30 miles is not very realistic. You can maybe get somewhat close, but not exactly reach that figure, you know, not normal driving conditions. Left side of the steering wheel, setting the cruise control, 80 kilometers an hour. And then there's also this steering wheel you can set, and as soon as it's green, then you also have the active lane keeping assist. We also have it here at the moment in this construction side lane, and so far it's doing a fairly good job, and also with a smooth process. So you see there's not much tingling back and forth, right and left. See here, I'm not applying any force to the steering wheel at the moment. I think so far I'm quite satisfied with that. Quite nicely done. And also the distance to the car is, you know, to the car in front of us is being kept. At the moment, of course, it's freeway. Traffic sign recognition is also inbuilt in this vehicle. And I really enjoy driving it all electric, all silent. So when you have recharged it, then of course, you know, you can do that. And also, once again, when you're driving downhill, for example, or having some stop and go in the city, then again you can use it. Or when easing this big car in and out of a basement garage, then you're also silent and, you know, don't annoy other people going back and forth. So I think that's actually the good thing here about the plug-in hybrid vehicle concept. There is, by the way, also nicely, you know, how they did the side mirrors, you know, with a small frame just. There's the blind spot monitor. I can try to show you that. One thing now, when we are getting a little bit faster now on the motorway, and the high-speed German Autobahn test is to come, we do have the active noise cancellation in this vehicle. That means, I'm not sure how you experience it on camera, but I can really tell you it is very silent in here. There's the blind spot monitor, there it is goes. And when I also hit the turning indicators, then there's also flashing in the side mirrors. So the active noise cancellation, ANC, you know that from the headphones which you wear in an airplane, outside of Corona times mostly. And some people don't like it, you know. Some say, like, I feel like being like half deaf on the ear, so there's like a vacuum sucking next to my ear, like feeling. And I can wear the headphones, yes. Although I have to say, at the time when I was more used to it, it was easier. Now I'm not wearing them that often and I have more problems. So it might be about this and in the vehicle as well. What I can say is, it is very positive on the one hand because it really significantly reduces the noise level. 3 microphones are recording the sound waves of engine noise, tire noise and wind noise. And then, the exact opposite waves are being sent to that they even that sound wave out. Definitely very interesting concept, also in here for a vehicle. However, you do notice that difference between this system and a passive good noise insulation, which, for example, we know from the German premium manufacturers, where they spend a lot of time and effort in, which you also pay for, of course. Yet again, this vehicle is very expensive in Europe, of course. So when you think about the $30K entry price in the US with rear-wheel drive model and low trim, here we can only get this high trim model, and it's like 67,000 euros. Like, what? Yeah. So to me, the passive noise insulation feels better. This is also very silent. At some point, this even feels more silent. I feel myself that I'm only hearing my voice and nothing else. This is really astonishing. You have to test it if you can bear it, or if it's really annoying to you. Test it before you buy this vehicle with ANC. Now, 50 kilometers an hour too. And that's 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and are we in a performance SUV or what? This was a very decent acceleration. This is 6 seconds is the acceleration figure. Here now these very high speeds, you see that the noise cancellation is not keeping up. High speed lane change. Yeah, actually not too unstable, so fine with that. On the brakes, of course, you feel the weight of the vehicle. So yeah, not too bad. And now at here like about 120 kilometers an hour, like 70 miles an hour, or now like 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. This is a decent highway speed, and especially at these speeds where this car is laid out to be run, it's again super silent by this ANC in here. So once again, if you ask me, do I in general prefer a passive noise dampening? Yes, I think it feels more natural. This is super silent, but somehow feels artificial. I wonder how you can get used to, or if you do get used to it. Maybe if some of you guys are already Ford Explorer or Ford Kuga and new generation customers, and you have the ANC by Ford, please share your experience. Like, is it not good for you? Is it great? Is it like you had 2 weeks of, oh, this is strange, and then it's gone, and then it's like fine? So I would really like to read the feedback on that. I'm not sure myself yet, but for now I think I would prefer the passive noise dampening, which is also more expensive than this system. I think it's also very interesting that they offer this technology here. Also, when being in a tunnel, once again, very silent. And also I can stress again while driving, today it's really hot, and these animal skin seats, they are really like very sticky. So if you can get a fabric seat in your country, go for them. Even if you would say, I don't care about any ethical aspect at all, wear it for practical reasons, very important to go with the fabric seats. So let's go back to the sports mode. The normal, we were in the sports mode. And did you see that or also experience? So there was a very direct throttle input when I was in the throttle, when I was in the sports mode, I hit the throttle, there was like everything was instantaneously there. And this was a very interesting experience. So this vehicle really feels American, feels unlike anything else you can buy and drive here. And of course it's, the size, that it's so big, definitely. Also with big metal console, Then the 7-seater concept, which you can also get in a Tiguan Allspace or Skoda Kodiaq, yes, but this is also something, when I'm in the US and then having some shuttle services and so on, they all use these vehicles like Ford Explorer, or then the premium ones like Cadillac Escalade or something. And on the negative side, it's really that the suspensions that are being used, or let's say the suspensions being offered to US customers, are usually way worse than the suspension for European customers. And I still wonder why they do that, because I've been driving in the US in so many different federal states now, and federal states we have in Germany, of course, in US just states. And I mean, there are also a lot of bad roads, so anywhere in the world there are bad roads, some things worse, sometimes bad. But then again, I wonder, why do they give the customers these shitty suspensions? Like, in general for all the different manufacturers. Even the same cars are sometimes being offered with like one worse suspension and one better suspension for Europe. Of course, it's also a little bit about the speed, that we maybe drive a little bit fast in Europe, but then again, like if I think about highway speeds in and around LA, if there's no traffic, when you go towards Anaheim or something, then it feels quite fast, also when it's going a little bit in the curvy roads and so on. So I really wonder what's the suspension strategy there, like the coast cutting thing. So I think really suspension-wise, this is also one of the things I'm dissatisfied with this vehicle. It should give you more comfort when running through potholes and so on, being a big SUV, definitely. However, being a big SUV, the fuel economy seems fine. This plug-in hybrid system also seems to work. I would guess that this engine also works with non-PHEV system because, once again, told you initially, when I was depleting the battery and then driving just, here cruise control with the engine, it was surprisingly economic as well. So that's definitely a good step forward in this generation. Of course, also you have the new infotainment system, but yeah, we talked about in the interior part, which is like, centralized. On the one hand, the co-driver can also reach that then, but doing that while driving, where it's not turned towards you, I don't know, it works. But still good that we have the manual knobs for volume, and the climate unit can also be, controlled here while driving. There's no problem. So I think straightforward enough, definitely. That's also a good thing, and then you feel at home when traveling as well. Once more, we can go to the sports mode and give you one more acceleration. Now when we're already at speed at 86 kilometers. So that's 160 kilometers. Wow. That's really strong, isn't it? And now, I think it's really still now at 160 kilometers an hour, also decently silent in here. Just some very high frequency wind noises you feel or so, but other than that, all good. So yeah, that's definitely good. And I also feel that the like this pressure effect on the ears when you're driving faster, this pressure or vacuum effect, yeah, it's exactly opposite, but maybe you can still describe it in both ways. So this strange feeling around the ears is decreasing the faster you go. Yeah, that probably means when you have a problem with the active ANC, then you should go faster. Interesting conclusion. Yeah, and one more thing here about the Ford vehicles. I have been discussing about that too. They have the heated windscreens in a lot of vehicles, and some even don't see it. For me, the thing is, I have to wear glasses because, do you actually say it in English? Like, I'm short-sighted? That's like something negative, But that's how we call it in Germany, when you can very well see on short distance, but not that well on long distance. Well, that's what I have, unfortunately, but not like too strong. But always when I do these tests, when they just check on you, like how well you can really see, I'm like with the glasses on, just from this, from the eye nerve, like from the capability, I'm at like 130% of like accuracy, but just with glasses. And so that might be a reason why I'm always seeing these heating lines, and they're driving me nuts completely. So I could not buy or drive a vehicle on long run where we have the heated lights. Then some tell me like, what are you talking about? I've never seen them, So it might really depend on the exact eye. I don't know. I do see them. I don't recommend them to drive them, but maybe you live in Minnesota and have 3/4 of the year of winter and don't have a basement garage or like a single garage, and then this is your lifesaver. Then again, of course, it makes sense to go for that one. So it's once again a matter of perspective or matter of climate in this case. So definitely very interesting once again to have this vehicle then in Europe. You guys have been asking for this review for ages, and I could not deliver you anything besides that one static review AJ did in Detroit like already 2 years ago. I think so, right? Time is flying by. Yeah, very interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this driving party for today. It was a very interesting drive. Of course, even more so with the plug-in hybrid. Really enjoying all the electric moments, and once again the transitions between engine on, engine off. I can hardly tell. I would really need like a special gauge to show me all the time, because the engine is really together. Probably also again with the ANC noise cancellation, really so silent that you hardly notice anything of that. And yeah, the recalculation of the electric range is also going back and forth here. So even though we had a little bit performance driving, they recalculated it, so it went now a little bit up even, so about 30 kilometers an hour. Yeah, I'm still not buying into into the official figure. But as I said earlier, a little bit more than half the official figure, something that could be something realistic. So leave me your feedback also to the driving part here to the Ford Explorer for today. And now to the conclusion for today with the Ford Explorer. In this new generation, a very cool styling, especially here in the ST line, with this bold front grille, the black shiny elements, so it really looks very, very massive and muscular, no doubt about that. Interior build quality has been improved, but is still not the strength of this vehicle. Of course, you have decent amount of space on the interior, considering also, it's also a long vehicle. You can also use that 7-seater option. However, then in the driving, suspension is the weak part of this vehicle. It's really rough when you run over potholes. They should improve that. Driving-wise, from the engine, this was very interesting. This plug-in hybrid here, very powerful acceleration indeed, and also decent fuel economy, even if the battery is depleted. Then when you have recharged it, even better, for the hybrid use, or then for the interesting electric moments for the pure electric range, which is less than officially stated. Yeah, I think they could have also put a bigger battery here in this very big vehicle. That would have been maybe even a little bit better. But overall, I think quite good impressions from this drivetrain here today. When does this vehicle make sense? If you think about, you almost get to 80k in euros when you buy it here in Europe. Then of course it has big premium SUV competition, taking a Mercedes GLE, BMW X5 and so on, or maybe even the bigger brothers of that for that price. And then if you also consider 7-seater and so on. But then again, if you think about the main US market, where you get the rear-wheel drive entry version with nicer fabric seats, which also smell less in the interior, by the way. Also when 30k something US dollars, and also smaller wheels, which would also increase the riding comfort, then of course it makes more sense and the vehicle again fulfills its purpose. So these are my impressions here for today. I hope you enjoyed them. It's always great to have you all guys here in our community. No matter if it's good times or tough times, we stick together. So, see you next time. Thank you so much.